Alrighty, so let's talk about morning routines, because morning routines are really what makes the day. Obviously, of course it is. That's where we start. So first of all, my recommendation is to wake up as early as possible. Now, this isn't as early as possible as in it's going to strain your body, it's going to stress you out, it's going to be some ridiculous, crazy routine. No, of course not. You just want to wake up when your body is actually waking up. And we all know when it wakes up. For me, I could stay in bed until 11 o'clock, but my body actually wakes up around 6 o'clock. I'm awake. My rhythm has begun. And I'll kind of stay awake in this kind of half and half sleep state. If I went to bed much earlier, I could just wake up at 6 and feel refreshed and fantastic. So about 9:30, 10ish is my bedtime. So in order to get your morning correct, you need your evening to be correct, but we'll do that in another video. As for the morning, my recommendation and what works for me is fruit. When I first wake up, I have a selection of fruit. I have mango, I have apple, I have orange, grapefruit sometimes, pomegranate. I'll chop these up, maybe some apricots, maybe some peaches, depending on what's in season. I'll also have a selection of nuts and seeds. I have sunflower seeds, poppy seeds, hemp seeds, even some pine nuts as well, and macadamia nuts, cashews, all of this good stuff. Because what this is not only nutrients, and say in like walnuts and stuff, you've got a lot of omega-3s, but you've also got a lot of selenium, you've got potassium, you've got all these goodies hidden in these nuts. And what these do is they help boost your brain. And then they're also full of fat. So that fat will give you energy to keep going throughout the day. Now, if you have cereal or if you have oats, as I've done previously, you'll find that you have a crash around 5 hours later, maybe even sooner, because once those oats have hit the system, they're beginning to digest and it's slowing you down. It's really, you need to be in a state where you're not moving around too much. Whereas with fruit digests very quickly. Fruit digests in probably about an hour. I mean, some people say 15 minutes, but that's of course not true. Your body has to go through its natural state. So it's going to take an hour, maybe an hour and a half for those fruits to really, first of all, digest and then hit your system. But as this is doing it, the natural fructose is going to go right into your bloodstream and it's going to keep you going. It's going to give you a natural caffeinated feeling. Because what you want to do with caffeine is you want to have it 3 hours after you wake up. So if you have coffee or tea, have it 3 hours when you wake up. But also have a hot drink with your water. Along with this fruit, what I'll usually do is I will have a series of vitamins. Maybe I'll have some iron supplements, something like that. And I will have 2 massive pints of water. Followed by, if I want, maybe some sort of protein shake, but not usually. Even a cold cup of tea or lukewarm cup of tea I think is good as well to flush the system, because of course what you want to be out of you is yesterday's food, and that will still be lingering. So you can flush out, you can have your morning, then you can have your shower, then you can brush your teeth, then you can do all of this stuff. Now it's actually recommended by dentists you brush your teeth before you have your breakfast and then everything but that. But because I'm having a lot of acid, I'm having a very acidic morning through all of this fruit, I personally would say brush your teeth after, but do it very gently, because that acid has now softened your enamel, which will make it a lot easier to damage it on the way out, and your gum line as well. So just keep that in mind. Now, straight after breakfast, straight after this hydration process, what I'll do is I will take a walk and I'll just get out in the fresh air. And because it's nice and early, it'll be nice and cool. Whereas the winter or the summer, it will still be very cool. You have the cool breeze, your blood will get pumping. If you've got somewhere nature-esque, you've got plants, you've got trees, you've got a bit of nature, all around you, then it's going to do you even better. Because what you can do is an exercise, which I do every morning, which is before I go to bed, I try and get in bed early enough where I can read, let's say, about 30 pages of a book, and that can go in, that can absorb before bed. But also, once I've laid down, the insights from the book and also the insights throughout the day can come through and flush out like a meditation. And I can pick and choose what I keep for tomorrow. But if that hasn't worked, then you've got this second system in the morning. You go outside, you become present, and you let those thoughts run wild for a bit. Because once you can recognize that they're running wild, then you can bring yourself into presence, because you'll be outside, you can hear the birds tweeting, perhaps there's a river, perhaps you're in a busy city, you listen to the traffic, or you see people out on the market stalls, bringing stuff out for their first sale. You can really pay attention to stuff. And whilst all these thoughts are happening, perhaps you've had an argument with someone yesterday or something like this. If you actually bring yourself to direct focus, if you can stare at some birds, stare at a tree, and maybe stare at the way the wind is moving certain plants, and you stay there for about 5 minutes, you'll notice these thoughts have kind of flushed for the most part. They'll still be there, there'll still be a few there, but you just become more present and more present and more present. And what will happen is, it's a bit like when you're dehydrated, you're craving water, you need water immediately. But when you're hydrated, you suddenly don't need so much water. So what will happen is, once you're present and you're in the actual zone, you're in a flow state, you're back to where you need to be, your presence, your baseline. What will happen is those thoughts will become irrelevant. Those things that happened yesterday won't matter. That ex you thought about last week and is obsessively on your mind is now just a background figure that you can pick and choose when to think about. But as long as you do this, you can stay in presence. You can feel really good. And then you will have this beautiful flat baseline, which is kind of like a clean slate. It's a brand new canvas to start the day. And as you're then walking back to the house, you can then envision your day. And then you can go to the toilet, you can have your shower, you're still envisioning. You don't go on the phone the whole time since you wake up till the moment you kind of have a break from your work when you start at the very start. Because what you can do is you can look at your phone the day before your nighttime routine and all of this starts very early in the evening, and you can leave it be. And then you won't need it because you'll know exactly what you're doing tomorrow, especially if you make a note of it. And then by the time you come to this new presence, you'll know exactly what you're doing. You'll be sure of what you're doing, and everything will be fine. I personally have struggled with routines, I've struggled with structure, and always been very anxious and stressed out when things aren't going right. So a morning routine like this is perfect, especially for someone perhaps with attention deficit disorder or just difficulty with finding balance in life in general, because we all do to a certain extent. So to have a morning routine that actually is helpful, just do it. Discipline yourself to do it. It really makes a big difference. And also in this time, don't speak to anybody. Don't talk to anybody. Because the second you start talking to people, then you have interrupted your flushing process. You've created blockages in your river, and that's just going to delay you and waste time, probably actually destroy your whole point of doing this, destroy your routine. So what I do is I make a conscious effort to let people know that I will not speak to them in the morning from a certain time. It's like, don't bother with me because I'm in a certain zone. And you can politely say this and most people will understand. And there'll be people that will object, but these are people that aren't listening to your boundaries. So, it doesn't really matter. If they're going to get upset about it, it's not your problem. You have to do you. And then you can be your authentic self. You can be a better version of yourself later on and really be helpful for those around you. So it's got to be quite strict. And even when I'm seeing people in the morning, I might see people I know dog walking or whatever, but I don't stay in chit chat. No, good morning, and I continue because I am on a mission. And that's what every single person needs to be on, because your day is a mission. Every single day is a mission. And you must give yourself permission to be on your mission. And you have to set boundaries, because you give yourself permission to go. Your mission is here. There isn't time or there's no space for other people interfering with this process. You must create walls, and then the second you're at your destination, you can unfold these walls and be a beautiful present being that doesn't have baggage from yesterday, doesn't have stuff interrupting your flow state today, and you can be pretty fucking awesome. You can be fantastic. But only if you've done your morning right, because this is your setup, this is your preparation. So take it seriously, and you will have a significantly better time. In my life, as I've said, I have been an actual mess in terms of this before. I've, slept into 11, wasted my day, kind of let each day domino into the next, and that is not a way that I would recommend to live. That's an easy way to waste your life and waste time, and to basically be unconfident in what you're doing. And confidence only comes with compromise. You must compromise, discipline yourself, and get it done. Now, all of these fancy words are out there, like discipline and consistency, and they come as these big, ominous things. I found this for years, that they're this big intimidating burden, but it's simply just doing what is right for you and being unapologetic about it. Because if you were living alone, if you had your own land and you're living alone and you followed this, it would be the same as if you're in the city that's busy, or if you're in a hostel and there's people around you, or in a busy house full of other people, or perhaps you live alone. Everything works. And in this time, you've had no phone to distract you, you've had no programming, because that's what these are. The phone is a programmer. You need to be your own programmer to program yourself before you can let this other program infiltrate you. Before you turn on a computer, you let it warm up, you let the fans run, you let the password thing in, you let the screen come on before you go and rush and put a memory stick in it. So why would you do that to your body? Why would you do that to your psyche? Why would you infiltrate your mind? Allow your mind to be, allow your body to be, allow yourself to be. Become present, do what you need to do, and you will feel significantly better.